For the Jazz,
This is One Fat Boy, and here are my NBA game predictions for January 10th of 2022. Tonight there is 7 games. I'll be going over the over-unders and spreads for the games. I got these from FanDuel, and then the over-unders are just my thoughts on the game. For the Jazz at the Pistons, I'll be going with Utah -11. With a spread this big, I'll assume some players are back for the Utah Jazz, but then once again, it's like the Pistons. The Pistons aren't that great, so I don't have too much faith in them. It's like, do I have faith on Cade Cunningham to come together, bring his team together, and beat the Jazz, who, even with the role players, I think would beat the Jazz. I mean, beat the Pistons overall. So I'm going to lean towards Jazz -11. Going under 224.5, as I expect. It's more likely for Detroit to have a bad shooting game than more likely for the Jazz to be completely on fire and the Detroit have a good game. So that's why I'm leaning with a 224.5, as I do expect the Jazz to score probably like 118 up to like the 126, because I don't expect Detroit to score more than like 104 points. So under 204.5, 224.5 for Milwaukee at Charlotte. So Milwaukee lost to Charlotte on the second game of their back-to-back. Now they're playing them again. So I expect Milwaukee to make the adjustments and cover the spread of -2. If they don't, it's going to look bad for them. So I expect Milwaukee to try and get a redemption win, and that should be enough fuel for the fire for them to win the game against the Charlotte. I'm going with over 222.5 because I just expect Charlotte to keep this game close for the first half. I don't expect them to stay with it in the second half, but I will expect them to keep on shooting the ball and make a lot of shots, and that goes with Milwaukee too. I don't think Charlotte's defense should slow down the Bucks. Like, there's going to be a lot of open shots for the Bucks, and their players are just going to have to make those shots, give them the opportunity. So over 222.5. Like, I think when the over/under comes out for this, it'll probably be like a 228 type of game, but over 220.5 will like for sure hit. For Spurs at the Knicks, I'll be leaning towards San Antonio +6.5. I don't have too much faith in the Knicks, and it seems whenever they play, it's low scoring, and it's always pretty close. So I'll be going with +6.5. I do expect the Knicks defense to hold down the Spurs, but then the Knicks offense is just horrid. So they can't build that big of a lead if they're not scoring the ball themselves. So San Antonio +6.5. Under 214.5 has once again same reasons. The Spurs will be slowed down, but the Knicks can't score the ball on their own. It's like, yeah, I know they had that one game where they won the buzzer beaters like 115 points, but I can't even remember the last time the Knicks scored more than like 100 points. So it was like, it's just safe to go with the under 214.5. For Indiana at Boston, going with Indiana +6. I personally don't have a lot of faith in Boston overall. They're just, how they play has just been more random over the last like week. It's like they're either will score a lot and then give a lot of points, or they'll score nothing, but they'll also hold down the teams to like a low amount of points when they have a bad shooting night. So with that logic, it's like their games are always close. So why not just take the plus on their opponent? And today was Indiana +6, and I can see that, because Indiana's kind of the same way too. Like, their games are generally close, and they're also random too. So with like 2 randoms, maybe they'll bring that constant between them is like the close games. So lean towards the plus for that. Be going over 212.5, as this should be kind of like a mid-scoring team, like mid-scoring game. So I think like either Brown or Tatum should like score for Boston. Then Indiana's offense between like LeVert and Sabonis, someone should be scoring at least like 24 between them, or like at least 20 between them. So that'll probably be like final score for these two teams will probably be in like that 104 to 108 kind of range for both teams, which is over 212.5. For Philadelphia at the Rockets, I'll be leaning towards Philadelphia minus 9.5. This is due to the fact that Minnesota played at Houston last night on their home turf and wiped the floor with them. So I think Philadelphia can handle the Rockets on the second game of back-to-back and do the same thing, as Philadelphia is a better overall team than the Timberwolves. So I expect the same trend to go forth, but I do expect Houston to try to show some fight, but it is Houston at the end of the night. I'll be going over 220.5, as I expect Philadelphia to score a lot. Houston to score maybe like 105, somewhere around there, but I think Philadelphia's defense, especially in the second half, will clamp down and slow down the Rockets, as I do expect this to be close in the first half, as Houston wants to redeem themselves from the night before, but they'll just run out of gas in the second half. Sixers will make the adjustments and then continue to score the ball while also holding down the Rockets. Then also, who's going to slow down Embiid? It's like their best chance, even though I think Christian Wood kind of fits the prototype, but he is just kind of smaller and weaker than Embiid, so the advantage goes to Embiid overall. So if I were to bet on a player to have a good game, probably be him. So over 220.5. For Cleveland at Sacramento, going with Sacramento plus 3.5. Cleveland played last night, so generally when there's a back-to-back, I'll be leaning towards the team that they're playing. Tonight is the Kings, so it's like that's not a team I'd usually rely on, but gonna have to tonight, as Cleveland, they didn't play fantastic against Warriors. They did hold them up under 100 points, but they only scored 82. Like, not a lot on their part. So I expect them to have a redemption arc tonight. Keep it close. I think it should be a close game overall, as Cleveland should be tired, and the Kings, if they just run the ball up and down, that's how they're going to get their easy points, keep them in the game, maybe come out with the win. But if I were to bet a money line on this game, I'd probably like lean 51% Cleveland, 49% Kings. We'll be going over 215.5, just because Cleveland's defense, yeah, it'll be good, but it's going to be a little worse, so Kings should get a few more points. And then Kings' defense, not that great, so Cleveland should score more than 82 points. Like, they should break 100 for sure. Like, at least get like 108 somewhere in there. It's like they have a bunch of big guys, and then I believe Sacramento lacks a few big guys, so as long as they just pound the paint to get some easy baskets, Cleveland should score enough points for the over 215.5. For Brooklyn at Portland, I'll be going with Brooklyn. That should be a minus 11. Plus 11, you can bet that. That's free money. Wouldn't be a lot of money, but it would still win. But Brooklyn minus 11. Who's going to slow down Brooklyn on Portland? I don't see anyone. So they should have a field day. It's like, especially if one or two of their role players steps up and just knocks down the open shots, like Patty Mills, this should be an easy win for them. I don't see a problem arising during this game. Then Portland, if they have to stay hot all game to win this, and I don't see that happening. I think Brooklyn, they always turn it on in the fourth quarter to try and win these games, and that's what we'll see. We'll likely see if this is close, but I think Brooklyn will win this in the first half, build that early lead, as all the minutes that Harden and Durant play during the season, they should be trying to win games in the first half so they can kind of coast in the second half and not have to play as hard. And I'll be leaning towards the over 221.5, as Brooklyn should be hot all game, and then Portland should be hot for like the first half or one of the halves. and there'll be a lot of scoring because the amount of the amount of threes that Portland will shoot, and then just the offensive execution by Brooklyn should bring this over 221.5. Thank you for watching. Comment of your ideas or predictions on spreads, over-unders, and any player props so other people can see them and use them. And once again, thanks for watching.